Hi, everybody. It's Pastor Tom, and this is the 24 Today podcast. I absolutely love interviewing people because I want to learn as a person, and I hope that the things that I talk about and share with those that I'm interviewing can help you learn as well. If you are someone who has had a loss in your own life, if you've lost a loved one, or if you know somebody that has, and you're dealing with grief, I am going to be talking to a person, Roni Lambrecht, who knows all about loss and knows personally about grief and how you go on from there. And she has given me permission to ask away freely about her story, and I just appreciate her being willing to help others through her pain and through her grief. So. Roni, welcome to the podcast, and thank you again for being willing to talk to us today.
Absolutely, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Roni, it's 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, that a tragedy happened that has forever changed your life. Would you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. We had a beautiful son, Dalton, and he was 15 years and 8 months old. And we took a family vacation to the Glamis Sand Dunes to ride our four-wheelers and camp. And it was actually over Christmas break. It was the first Christmas we had ever had that was just the three of us, because we've both got pretty big families. And so we're usually with family, but we actually took that Christmas and we were just the three of us. So it was awesome. And I recommend everybody do that at least once in their lives. It's awesome. But anyway, we were there, and 4 days after Christmas, my son was on his four-wheeler, and he was hit head-on by what's called a sand rail, which is a very large version of a dune buggy, about 6 times the weight of his four-wheeler. They hit head-on, and he was killed instantly. Sorry, this is where I always... Let me breathe a minute.
Sure.
Anyway.
Do you need a moment, Roni?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Anyway, he was hit head on, went to heaven doing exactly what he loved to do. The four-wheeler was like another part of his body. He was so amazing on it, and it was just cool to watch how fluid he was on it and what an expert he was. And that was all taken away on December 29th of 2013. And excuse me, he was our only child. And so since then, we have really tried to use our loss as a learning tool for other people in their lives. And I speak on parenting a lot, and I also speak on grief a lot. But I just feel like if we have to be here and we have to live through this, that we need to find a reason to be here. And the reason that we've found is to help others, to try and get through their losses, and more importantly, to really focus on the people that are here in their lives, that they can really be there and be mindful of the relationships, and like you and I today, being focused right here, head on, being conscious of the moment and really enjoying the moment and being together. So, yes.
And Roni, you have written a book entitled Parenting at Your Best, and you've also written a parent's journal to their child. Would you tell us a little bit about both of those?
Yes, Parenting at Your Best is 31 chapters of stories about our life, of the things we think we did right, but a lot of things that we did wrong. And looking back on parenting, and there's never been a book about parenting written from the backside, as we call it. And so what we really, wanted to do was really help other parents not to have the same regrets that we do. My husband has a ton of regrets, and he's still working through those, more than 4 years later. And so he said, you're the writer. Why don't you help me get our message out there to try and help other people to not have the same regrets that I do. And and to tell them the things we did right and the things we did wrong, and see if we can help them in their parenting and really enjoy their time. Because in a lot of ways, we were so busy with work that a lot of times we weren't um,
Really connecting.
available all the
Yeah.
time. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm. And your book is available on Amazon.com, and it's also in Audible form.
Yes,
And
yes,
then you can get it on your website as well, which is parenting at your best without regrets.com.
yes, sir.
Parenting at your best without regrets.com. So both or all of those ways you can get this book, which there's an award that did I see on your website, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
mom's.
Yeah, the Mom's Choice Award, they give awards away each year for top products for parents, and this was one of the gold awards last year. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
Ronnie,
yeah.
um, in my experience with any kind of loss, one of the initial things that it seems like I deal with, and I'm sure you and your husband must have, is blame. Like, what did I do wrong? Why did I let? How could I have?
Mhm.
Is
Yes.
that something that you went through? And
Yes, we right in the beginning, we definitely went through that. Blame was one of the things that we had to work through almost immediately, because the friends that we were with camping, they they had come actually the day before, and they wanted to change campsites because apparently the campsite that we picked wasn't good enough.
mm-hmm,
Um, but it was, and we kind of had a little disagreement the night before about moving campsites. And I said, "We've been here for a week and we're comfortable, and why do we have to pick everything up and move?" And our friends were like, "Oh, it would be so cool if we could be on the other side and, be in a different area." And so, um, and that was what was happening was they were going to find a new campsite that morning, and Dalton was on his four-wheeler, and because he was going to save the spot that they found. Um, and so for us, we had to figure out kind of right away that it doesn't help to blame anybody, and in our world, not exactly sure what you believe, but in our world, one of the things that we really believe is that our story has been written before we got here, and
yes,
so
mm-hmm,
I feel like
mm-hmm,
both John and I feel like that his story had to have been written, and there are events that led up to this, that
mm-hmm,
comments that Dalton had made and that kind of a thing, that really make us believe that he knew that it was time. Um, anyway, and I so I've we really worked through right there in the first few days, worked through, we can't blame anybody for
mm-hmm.
this. It was just the way it was supposed to be,
Right.
and because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. If you turn
Right.
it around and say, well,
Yes.
there's mean people in the world and there's terrible people that do terrible things, and why would my baby get taken? Um, and definitely a lot of anger at God,
Yes.
and just being angry. How could this be possible? And how could you take such a beautiful soul from this earth that gave so much back to the
Yes.
community?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's so many other people that are just rotten, and it didn't make sense to me. But so yeah, one of the things that we've kind of really settled on that helps us is that his story was written, and it didn't matter what we did right, what we did wrong, what we did in that moment or what we did, a year ago. He was still going to go that day at that time.
Yes. Yes. So anger is part of it. The why me
Yes,
question or why
absolutely.
him question is definitely part of it. Ronnie, can I ask you, are you still mad at God to some degree?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Has
absolutely.
that lessened, or have you just learned to deal with it better?
I think I deal with it better. I think um I don't know, it has really tested my belief to think that if there really is a God, why would he have done this to us?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of still in that boat.
Okay.
My husband is in the boat that it was just meant to be, and we just accept it, and
Okay.
it is what it is. Kind of, you
Sure.
go on with your life. But yeah, and I don't think I have a ton of anger, but I do. It is really a struggle for me when you see horrible things, on the news. The news is, there was a shooting here, or there
Yes.
was, a rape here, or someone killed someone here, and you think, oh my gosh, why didn't it happen to that person instead?
Hmm.
But yeah, I think there's always going to be questions like that. I talk to parents that are 30 and 40 years into this, and they say that there's still those kind of questions in their
Yes.
lives.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I do. I think for us, really trying to focus on our blessings and what we had versus what we're missing and what
Hmm.
got taken away
Hmm.
that's huge to us.
Hmm.
And we definitely, I wouldn't say preach about that, but we
Hmm.
we definitely
Sure.
talk about that a whole heck of a lot, just in general everyday life. Be thankful that you have a home to live in, and food on your table, and dishes to clean, and those kind of things. And to be thankful that we had the 15 years and 8
Yes.
months that we did.
4 years later, the pain is obviously still there, and you think about Dalton daily, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
How is the pain different, though, is in terms of it's maybe, is it not so overwhelming? Is it more manageable? How would you describe pain 4 years later?
I It still hits on, at certain times, certain moments. I actually find that now, even just in the last few months, I find that I'm a little bit more emotional than I was prior. Um, I think people say you go through the numb the first year, and sometimes the first 2 years you go through the numb, and John and I were absolutely numb the first year, and coming out of it the second year, and the second year is always the hardest, as that's what I'm told, and it was for us as well. Um, and now I feel like, and I think it's because we're coming up on a big anniversary, you might say, and on that 5-year mark, and to think that um, I never thought I could live a day without him, much less get this far into it. And there's a lot of guilt there.
Hmm.
Why am I still here, and
Hmm.
that kind
Hmm.
of a thing. And I never thought I could live without him. Um, but I would say it's not as overwhelming as it once was, where it was constant. Now it is fewer and farther between, but when it hits harder. So it feels like, there's two ways I describe it. It feels like our skin is turned inside out and our nerves are all exposed
Hmm.
when that happens. And it's not that any particular thing happened that exposes it. It's just, a point in the day or a point in the night, and you just think about something and it hits. Um, and another way to explain it, that actually might be a little bit more accurate, is it feels like you're maybe on shore and an ocean just comes and buries you in water, and you can't catch your breath.
Hmm.
um, and you're constantly feeling like you can't catch your breath. I
Right.
still have alarms on my phone to remind me to breathe, um, because one of the ways my body deals with grief is that I stop breathing for long periods of time. And so I can be working with clients, I can be sitting at my desk, I can be driving in my car, and all of a sudden I am gasping for air. And so that's something I'm trying to work through right now, is to remind myself to breathe. And I'm told that it hits certain people in different ways, but this is
Hmm.
the way that it hits me kind
Hmm.
of the hardest. So,
Ronnie, how
yes.
do you deal with those special days and um, those natural things like Christmas and
Hmm.
birthdays?
Um, well, my parents hate this, but the last several Christmases, we've been running away. We
Uh-huh.
just get in the truck, and we just leave. And last year we just got on the highway and we just drove and ended up where we ended up.
Okay.
And we went to Mexico one year. Yeah, we just for his birthday this year, we got these cool tattoos. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Anyway, Dalton wrote me this letter for my birthday. I was a big proponent of teaching him to write because someday he would be a husband and he needed to be able to communicate his love. And he wrote me this beautiful letter. Excuse me. It says, "Mom, you are the eighth wonder of the world to me, and there is no person who rises over your abilities to love and cherish their son as much as you do me. I love you to infinity and beyond, DJ." And we took his ashes and put it in the ink before they put the ink on our bodies. So he wrote me this one, and he wrote John another letter, and that's on John's right arm. Anyway, so kind of he was our right hand, and so it's on those letters are on our arms, and as a parent who's lost a child, I think one of the things that any of us go through, whether we've lost them in an accident, to suicide, to murder, to anything, is we want to know if our child knows how much we loved them and still love them. And I will tell you, I struggle on a daily basis wondering, does Dalton know that I loved him that much then? Or does he know that I loved him that much then? And this is my constant reminder that he knows that I loved him as much as I did, and that he knew that. Because I think that as parents, and even as regular everyday parents who haven't lost a child, you want your child to know how much you love them, but it seems like we never get the confirmation from them that they do know that, other than like, "Come on, Mom, seriously,
right.
You're pushing me or whatever, and you want me to be home at a certain time, or you want to know who all my friends are," or that kind of a thing. And but having them relay to us and teaching them how to do so, I think, is extremely important, because if anything were to happen, I think it's really important that you knew that your child loved you as much as they do, and vice versa, that they know that you love them.
Sure. If you missed the first part of this podcast, I'm Pastor Tom, and this is a 24 Today video podcast, and you can find out more about me and my blog on 24today.org. And it's my pleasure to be with Roni Lambrecht, who has written a couple of books. One is Parenting at Your Best, and also A Parent's Journal to Their Child. And you can learn more about her on parentingatyourbestwithoutregrets.com. Roni, there's also a site called doitfordalton.com. doitfordalton.com. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. My son was kind of a force in his school, way more than we knew, in that he was always the one who was listening and doing nice things for people and not getting any credit for that. And so at his celebration of life, the kids stood up and they spoke for 4 hours, telling stories about things that Dalton had done for them that he never even told us about. And we were really close to him. I thought he told me everything. But at least it was really good things. But these kids, 6 of them actually stood up and said that they wouldn't be here had Dalton not stopped them from committing suicide. So he would talk to them and help them, and then he would go to the counselor and tell the counselor that they needed help, but not to let them know that he told them, and then the counselor would contact the child and help them through it. Anyway, I had no idea that he had done these things. I knew he was a good listener, and but you just don't realize how serious kids are when they talk about suicide and that kind of a thing. Anyway, and then with that, the kids all wanted to do something special, and so we created these bracelets, and on them they say Dalton on one side and Pay It Forward on the other side. And then we created these little cards that we have, and here, I don't know if you can see.
I can, yeah.
Anyway, we created these little cards, and so what we do is we ask people to perform just a random act of kindness, and then to hand the card to them and say, "Hey, can you take this and pay it forward and do that for somebody else?" So it can be as simple as running through a coffee drive-through and buying coffee for the next guy, But we honestly would rather it be something even more special than that. Take food to someone who needs some help. Go mow
Sure.
their lawn. Go shovel their driveway. But do an actual random act of kindness where you're actually getting out there and you're physically doing something for someone, you know, and then ask them, you know what, when you're up and running again and everything's good for you, take this act, no matter if it's tomorrow or 5 years from now, and pay it forward and do something nice for someone else.
That's beautiful, Roni.
Yeah.
Roni, how do you get out of bed each day when that grief hits you, when you first wake up and you realize
It's
here I
another day
am?
without him. Yes. Well, in the beginning, we had these chairs that Dalton had when he was little, and they've always sat around our house. Since I put the table away, we've had these little chairs that he used when he was like, 2 and 3 years old. Anyway, and they've always been all over the house, right at the entry and in his bedroom and, in the laundry room. I don't know why, but they're great step stools. Anyway, and so I took his from his bedroom and I put it next to my bed, and I decided I had to step on that every morning before I got out of bed. The other really big thing that has helped us is both John and I are entrepreneurs, and we both work a lot of hours and work with clients a lot. And something very important to us is to make sure that the people around us, our clients and our family and friends, that if they are depending on us for something, we are there for them. And we've always been those kind of people. I don't know why, but we are. And so we are really good about scheduling our appointments first thing in the morning, because if we do that, if we schedule a 7 a.m. or an 8 a.m. appointment, or we tell a client that we're going to be at their house for John to remodel their house at, that he's going to be there at 7:30 or 8:30 or whatever it is, it's important to us that we keep our word and we be there. And so if we've promised someone a time, then I don't know how we do it, but we just make sure that we don't let them down.
Sure.
So again, turning the tables and putting it on someone else, and that someone else needs us, and maybe being a martyr a little bit, I don't know.
No.
But if someone else needs me to be somewhere and do something and I have promised them that I'm going to do it, then I feel like I need to be there and do it. So, and then there are the days that we don't have an appointment scheduled in the morning, and we do kind of back and forth. Should we get up today? Should we do something today? What are we going to do today? And both of us are really good at having long to-do lists, and I don't know, we just stay busy. I really think that my grief coach is telling me that that's not such a great thing anymore. but for at least for the first several years, for me, my advice to other people who are grieving is to get up and go, be busy. And the reason that I say that is because being quiet oftentimes brings you to the dark places. I know I, for one, 2 years ago, got to a point where I was ready to go, and I was ready to make the decision to go be with Dalton. And suicide is a really hard word to use, but it's true. I was there. I was ready to be there. I just wanted to be with him and hug him and touch him and touch his face and kiss him. And so for us, I have to have music on. I have to have the TV on. I have to have something happening in the background, and then also be focused on where I'm going next. So as an example, today I have your interview, and then I have to go show houses all afternoon. And so my clients are depending on me. And I think that it is important to not allow yourself to lay in bed and be a draw on society. It's important that you get up and you go kick butt in the world. And if your loved one, if your child doesn't get to be here, then you need to get out there and make it worth their while to have left, because you're going to do for them and for everyone else around you. You're going to keep going.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love the idea of stepping on the chair. We are tactile people, and would you encourage that for someone else? Because it's I'm hearing that it's a sense of touch. It's a sense of doing something physical.
Well, and it
What?
was something that Dalton physically touched every day too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be an important step for people to have
Yes.
something physically that they can touch?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We still go in his room every night and say goodnight and talk to him. Um, I think it's really, really important to have. I have all of his clothes. I have his stuffed animals, uh, his his video games, the things that caused problems, his computer. Um, I don't know. For me and for my husband, it's important to be able to go in and touch those things and feel those things that at some point his hands were on, or his, you know, his butt sat in the chair, or his,
Right.
or he used that as a footstool. It is very important to have something tactile. Yes.
Can you help me to know, and for others to know, when we're friends with someone who's had such a loss in their life? Um, how do we bring that person up in conversation? How is it helpful for us just to not to try to avoid the conversations and the subjects
No,
that
no,
have
no,
to do
no.
with Dalton, or how do we, or when, you know, what's comfortable for you?
Well, I'm a pretty open person. My husband's very closed off. So we're very different in that way. But I will tell you, if someone comes up and says, I saw a movie today and it reminded
Mm.
me of Dalton, or I
Oh,
heard this song on the radio and it reminded me of Dalton, or I was just thinking the other day that Dalton and I did this together. Um, those are the things we live for those things. Um, please say his name.
okay.
Please say his name. Please know that he existed.
Mm.
Um, don't just pretend that he was never here. It's
Okay.
but don't use those dumb cliches. God needed
Okay.
another angel, or
Mm-hmm.
um, oh, his flower got plucked early. All those kind of goofy things that people say. Don't
Mm-hmm.
say that. Just,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what to say,
Mm-hmm.
say maybe you didn't know their child or their loved one. And so just say, you know what, I don't know what to say, but I want you to know that I'm here if you ever want to talk about them. Tell me what their favorite color was. Tell
Mm.
me what they loved to do. And allow that person who is grieving to talk about their loved one. I think that so many people are so afraid to be deep anymore. Everybody's so surfacey. I don't know if that's a word, but
No, that's a good word.
but yeah, everybody is so surfacey, and they do the hi, how are you, and oh, I'm fine, and la di da, and that's not what life is about. Life is about reaching people and being deep, and reaching out and touching them physically or emotionally. And I think it's really important as human beings that, you know what, when I ask you how you are today, I want you to say, you know what, today sucks. This happened this morning and this happened this morning and I need help. Or, today is awesome. I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I don't know, I felt like I looked good today, or whatever. But just be honest with me and be real. And I think in grief, more so than any other time in the world, you want people to be real with you, because those are the times when um, my husband and I notice this all the time, how fake people are. Just
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, oh, hope you're doing okay, or sorry to hear about your son, and then they turn around and walk away. And I know it's that. Believe me, we have the grace to know that it's because people don't know what to say.
Don't
But
know
it
what to do.
is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but it is just really important to say, I don't know what to say, but I'm really sorry about your loss, and I would love to help or love to talk to you. And one of the other big things I will tell you is, don't say to someone, what can I do to help you?
Mm.
Because they don't have any idea what you can do to help. So look around their house. Does the yard need to be mowed? Does the snow need to be shoveled? Do the flowers outside need to be plucked? Do their dishes need to be done? Does their house need to be cleaned? Doing physical things to help them. The other thing I would tell you is, meals are important. I still to this day forget to eat. If it wasn't for my husband, I would forget to eat all the time. Um, You wouldn't know that by looking at me, but um, but my husband wants to eat 24 hours a day. So it's it again, it hits everyone differently. But help them eat, help them be hydrated. That's really important, being hydrated. Help them take vitamins. All those kind of things, just but be around for the everyday daily things. Buy them groceries. I will tell you, we had hundreds upon hundreds of people, and I'm not exaggerating, come through our house. The amount of toilet paper that you use, people do not think about that, but toilet paper and coffee, paper plates, paper cups, um, all those kind of things. And then on the deeper level, helping them go through pictures and organize pictures, and let them tell you stories about each picture. Don't talk, just say, "Oh, where was this at?" Or "Tell me what you guys were doing here," or "What did he say right before that?" Or but help jog their memories, because as a parent, one of the biggest struggles that we go through is, I don't want to forget. What if I forget something? And there were so many great memories, and I don't want to lose them. And I know while I was writing the book, there were 2 chapters in the book where it I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know what story to use for this." And Dalton tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Hey mom, do you remember the time when?"
Mm.
And I literally typed what he told me.
Mm.
Um, and maybe that was just in my head, but it made me
Mm-hmm.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
he was retelling me a story that I needed
Sure.
to hear. So let them talk, just let them remember, and encourage that, because a lot of people want to go within themselves and not remember, and because they're struggling, because it hurts to remember, and it hurts to remember that you had that moment and you'll never have that moment again.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But help them remember, and help them be thankful for the moment that they had, not for the moment that they've lost.
Hmm. Ronnie, thank you for your honesty in talking about a subject that's still so hurtful yet today and will continue to be so. Just as we wrap up, you had mentioned grief coach. Could you explain that term? And also, are there ways that people can contact you through your site?
Absolutely. Well, I just started with a grief coach, which I had been to several grief counselors who are trained counselors, that kind of a thing. And I had been to three. Two of them actually told me that I didn't need their services, that I was doing fantastic,
Oh,
and I didn't need their services, and I should just go on my merry way. Um, and so I did a ton of research about, counselors and that kind of a thing, and decided that a lot of people are just coaches now. I don't really know what the difference is, other than a coach doesn't have as much of a degree or a
okay.
certification, I guess, as a
Mm-hmm.
counselor. But I seem to connect better with a coach. And so what the coach is having me do is, she's teaching me how to meditate and how to be quiet when I'm really struggling with being quiet.
Okay.
She's teaching me how to get out of my brain. She's teaching me how to write out all the things that maybe I've been thinking about doing with this, and how I can help others. So she's wanting me to write those things down, where a counselor maybe just more listens to
Okay.
you, doesn't ask you to do things, whereas a coach, I mean, just like a basketball coach or a football coach or a piano teacher, um, they're forcing you to get out of your comfort zone.
Right. Run some
And
drills and keep doing it and
exactly.
keep going, keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely uncomfortable. One of the things that she wants me to do is sit in a chair across from an empty chair, and and if I'm angry with someone for the day, or I'm hurting or whatever, and get my emotions out on that invisible person in that chair.
Mm.
Um, I haven't done that one yet. I'm having a hard time with that one. But again, I just started this just last week. So, but anyway, I think coaching is more having you do things. Counseling is
Okay.
more
Sure.
listening. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm more of a doer. I got to get up and go. So, yeah. Anyway,
And can
and
can people ask you questions on your site, or is there a contact
yeah,
me?
absolutely.
Okay.
Anybody can email me at doitfordalton@gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm certainly not an expert in grief or parenting, but I sure love to listen and to help anyone that I can in any way, shape, or form. So,
So again, give me that address.
yes, it's Do It for Dalton, DALTON, Do It for Dalton at gmail.com.
Sure.
Yes.
Roni, again, thank you. And if you'd like, you can get her a couple of her books, Parenting at Your Best, and also a parent's journal to their child. And you can get that from her website or on Amazon.com, or it's an Audible form also. Her website is parentingatyourbestwithoutregrets.com. And then also she has a site in honor of her son, and it is doitfordalton.com. So
Yes,
Roni,
sir.
again, thank you so much, and thank you all for listening to the 24 Today podcast, and hope that you'll join us again next time. And remember, there's still time left in this 24-hour period to live life today. Thank you, Roni.
Thank you.